From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher, and their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher, and our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Scripchuk. Their mission: to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome back to Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. Who's hosting?
Well, you are, Miss Audra.
I am. I know. The first time.
I know. Welcome.
Thank you.
Joining the free for all.
And who
So
else?
Bill's here. Miss Vicky's over there somewhere, but she's coming. She's running around getting dinner for our daughter, who decided that 6:45 is the time to get food, not 6:00. But whatever. Miss Audra, we have a guest.
We do have a guest. I'm very excited to meet this guest.
I know. He is well known in the grid life paddock. He has decided that he's going to finish first this year in Street Mod in the time attack session. And he's not taking any no's for that. He is in a tight competition, but, he's a guest this time. So we'll root for him. And we first met him for real at NJMP. He had one of the best celebrations on the podium that I've seen. And he's very quiet, shy, and reserved. But hopefully we'll be able to get him to talk a little bit. We have Dewey DeWitt. Welcome.
What up? How are you guys doing?
Doing okay. Tongue was fully in cheek with the shy and reserved. But anyway.
I was about to say, who are you talking about?
I don't know. The next person coming on the podcast.
I guess you got your notes messed up, bud.
Did I forgot to change those? My God. So Miss Audra did her first podcast intro on ours, and I do them all the time, but we're terrible at doing them. So could you kind of give a brief intro for stuff we missed? Racing life, professional life, whatever.
Yeah, so I've been running around with Grid Life for, I think I'm 8 years now. I might be going on 9.
You didn't miss many then.
No, I think they did 2 years before I showed up. So I've been running around with Grid Life for a long time. Gotten a time attack as fast as I could. It's something I always wanted to do. It's just something that I didn't think was really possible. But at the time, I was working for a company called TH Motorsports, who was sponsoring the events, and so we got free tickets. So it allowed me to just kind of dip my toes in it, and then I made tons of terrible financial decisions and went all headlong into it. But right now, I run in the street modified category with a very highly modified 1995 Impreza L, and it's not much of an Impreza L anymore.
I say there's a few changes you've made.
Yeah, a couple. The competitors named it Boogeyman, not me, and the name stuck, so it's the name of the car now. And I work for IEG Performance, selling this crazy dream to other people. So I void warranties for a living.
Why Boogeyman?
So it originally started when I said I was going to be coming to Street Mod, and I kept saying, hey guys, I'm bringing this car to the class. Just want to let you know, I'm going to build this thing right to the bleeding edge of the rules, and it's coming. And it took me a little longer than I wanted to get than it should have to get done. And they started going, oh, when's this like Boogeyman car going to show up? This like saying Boogeyman like it didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the name came from, and I just kind of leaned into that.
I didn't know if there were some personal issues we needed to talk about for you, sir, but that's fine.
No, no, that was really it. It was Brad Yonkers, a guy, him and Matt DeRoos won the overall championship a few years back, and he's the one who actually coined the name, so he gets credit for that.
Or blame, either one.
Well, yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
So was this the first thing that you tried, Time Attack, because you got free tickets, or you had tried other things before this?
I had been doing like small HPD stuff. I did a lot of drag racing. I'm not gonna lie, I've done my fair share of legal and not legal drag racing
In Mexico, right?
in Mexico.
Yes.
I did some stuff with 1320 video at one point. Um, it was just what was big within our scene at that point. But I've been, reading Sport Compact Car and Super Street and all of, Grassroots Motorsports and a lot of these magazines. And, a lot of these hero cars of mine were time attack cars. It's something I'd always liked to do. I played a lot of extremely competitive Forza. It's something I wanted to do. It just didn't seem real. And, I did a couple of HPD events throughout the years, but nothing competitive. That didn't really start until I went to my first Grid Life event and realized in HPD, I was right in the ballpark of where I might be able to compete in that lower level class, the HPD plus class, which is what they, at that time, that became street. It was I started comparing my times. I'm like, man, I could run with these guys. And my buddy Graham, who was also my tuner, was just like, we should do time attack next year. I'll bring my car and you run your car. And that's really where it started. It was like, hey, let's just go have a good time. And James Houghton actually has a really good clip on an old Gears and Gasoline video of talking about, if you want to do time attack at this level, it's all you can think about. And that was easy because at that point, that's all I could think about. And I got really competitive really fast. It's just kind of my nature. And this is what I've been doing. So
What did you start off with at the time? You're running a Subaru now, well, sort of a Subaru now.
I was running a Subaru then. Honestly, everything good in my life came from Subarus. My job came from Subarus. My wife came from Subarus. Most of my friends came from Subarus. Through that, my kid came from Subarus, and my passion, everything else came from Subarus. So I'm kind of married to that brand.
Are you allowed to wear hats that don't have a flat brim?
No.
Oh.
No, I don't do. I was totally against the flat bill. I came way before that. I got my first WRX in 02.
Oh, okay.
So I'm back when IT guys drove these cars when I was in on it. Then Ken Block showed up way after me. So
you should get a bumper sticker with that.
Yeah,
I drove Subarus when IT guys drove Subarus.
Back when flaunting your member number on Nasiak was a big deal. That's when I was in on it.
Wow.
So either way, my wife had no 5 STI, and her car was really the only one that was ready to go for any sort of track use. When we got our first ticket to Grid Life Midwest, I was getting begged by our the owner of the company at TH to go. He's like, just go, run HPD, have a good time. You're going to talk to a bunch of people. It'll be great. So I spent a couple of days prepping the car to go, new brake pads, change the oil, just the basic stuff. And my buddy Graham happened to be in town tuning for us that weekend when I was still working he was tuning for 6-Star Motorsports while I was working at TH. It's a long story. Either way, he was in town. He was staying at my house. He's like, oh, we should go. Let's do this. So he puts a really soft tune on it, and we both co-drive the car throughout the weekend. And that's when he had a really big powered street car at that point, and I had my wife's STI that I stole, and both of those cars turned into our competition cars. That's really where it started. We just went and had a good time doing HPD, and we decided to do the next event and the next event and the next event, and running around with Grid Life, they all kind of became family.
So HPD straight to time attack?
Yep. I went HPD straight to time attack. It was more of this is one of those situations where Gran Turismo or Forza translated over pretty well. Where the going fast part of it, I had fairly figured out. It was more of understanding the format and things of that nature. I've been doing lots of other style competition things, with drag racing and, some autocross and stuff like that. But it was understand HPD, understand where the weaknesses were with the car. I've been modifying Subarus for years, so understand what the weaknesses of the platform were, improve on those, and then I went straight to competition.
So while we're there, what's that? While we're there, Subaru.
Sure.
We're endurance racers.
Yes.
The Subaru is I've heard it's Japanese for head gasket replacement.
Yeah, I mean,
so what
if you've got a naturally
do?
aspirated 2.5 liter, yeah, those things are toast. But honestly, the turbo engines, if the head gasket problem isn't as much of an issue as what most people believe to be a weak engine is actually bad heat management or bad tuning.
Okay.
That's every platform's got their weak point. Don't get me wrong, Subaru engines have their problems, but they can be mastered just like anything else can. And any like Evo guy or Honda guy or whatever, they have their own problems. They've got a weak trans or a transfer case, or balance shafts are breaking, or just every car's got its issues, especially when you start adding gratuitous amounts of horsepower like we're doing.
Sure, that was what I was trying to get to, because we have a bunch of people who listen who drive Subarus, and then a bunch of people that are starting that drive Subarus, and everybody's like, stay away from it. Head gasket.
Head gaskets aren't really the issue, especially with a turbo model, and especially with the newer FA platform. So a lot of the BRZ FRS folks, they don't ever have to worry about that. And I can, out of all the things that I've blown up over the years, I'm probably on like 30 engines I've popped personally. Okay, because that's just what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe one of them has had a head gasket failure. I've had that was actually caused due to the head gasket failing. That was just an OEM engine we were pushing way too hard. If you modify everything correctly, it's not a problem.
So, like, we are familiar with some of the weaknesses, say, on a BMW, but what are the key weaknesses that a Subaru has?
The big ones, it tends to be oiling related, and people try to ask quite a bit more out of them than they should. Like the BRZ is a really good example. This drives me up the wall. Everybody's like, "Oh, these engines are weak. These engines are weak." Well, what kind of oil are you running? Well, 0-20, just like Subaru told me to. Well, that's why. Put 530 in, and it'll last forever. You just put a good 530 in it, and it's fine. And it's simple things like that. The aftermarket has fixed so much in these vehicles. Why Subaru refuses to do it this way is still beyond us, but the aftermarket's fixed a lot of it. Another one is Gingerman Raceway is really bad for this. Basically the 8-9 complex of corners and then 10 sloshing the other direction. It is like designed by God to destroy Subaru engines. Okay. So it sloshes all of the oil into one head, and then it sloshes all the way back into the other head. Then you hear your rod knock about halfway down the straight just before you get to 11. So
you can pull right off into the paddock.
You're right fine. There. You'll hear the rod knock, pull right in. You're good to go, and hopefully you get in there before you throw the rod through the top. I can't tell you how many of those engines have went there, but a lot of that is due to really terrible baffling in the oil pan. I mean, and that's an easy fix. Aftermarket oil pan with some good baffling, and you'll have a little extra oil in there, and that'll help a ton.
It doesn't help running your Subaru Toyota 86 through water. Not good.
No, not a good idea.
No.
Nope.
We're gonna do an engine swap.
That'll do her.
Yeah, it's done. It's due.
Unfortunately, there's not good aftermarket pans that exist for the FAs yet. That's something we're looking into, but for the old EJs, that's a massive improvement. The FA is really the things you need. Just good oil. If you're going to be driving the crap out of it, get a good oil cooler and then a good tune. That's it. Other than that, they'll just run. We ran almost, when I say every session, I mean like all but advanced. We ran all of the HPD sessions in my BRZ, we were hot lapping it. We'd get out and then throw somebody else in and run the next session at Heartland last year. And we just changed the oil midway through the event as a precaution.
Mhm.
But I still drive that thing around every day. You know, you can just beat the snot out of the cars if you take care of them and take the extra precautions. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that.
Well, we'll have a Subaru segment coming later, but
if you want to bring me back on and we just talk about Subarus, I am all for it.
well, we're going to have a short session, and then apparently we're going to have another podcast episode coming soon.
Where do you see all the racing going? I mean, what have you done and what haven't you done yet?
Oh, so this is a problem I'm actually running into right now. I'm having a bit of a existential crisis here because my goal for the past, I don't know, since I put Boogeyman together 5 years ago was to win a street mod championship. And right now I am, it's not mathematically impossible for me to lose the championship, but it is very unlikely that I will not win this championship. There's only 1 point left on the board that we can go and get, and we're going to try to go and get that and sew this up so then I can go to Laguna and not have to think about it. But now I'm starting to ask myself, well, now what? I have one more goal that I want to accomplish within Time Attack that's just something I want to check off, and that's being the first one in street mod to go sub 130 on Gingerman. But past that, I got to be real. I'm not sure what I want to do. World Time Attack has really got me interested. It'd be cool to maybe take the car down, make some changes to get it legal for some of those classes, and ship the car over. And I don't need the car at that point because I'm not trying to win a championship. That's one of the biggest reasons I haven't done that yet, is because you got to ship the car to Australia.
Yeah.
So it's gone for a solid 6 months if you're lucky. I really want to do a GLTC build with a BRZ. Imagine that.
That would be kind of awesome.
Would you swap it?
I want to run one of those. I want to run a new FA24.
Okay.
I think it would be a good development platform for us as IAG. Plus, I do believe the way the rules play out right now, that new FA24, I can make more than K24 power it legally within the rules of, more torque, wider power band, just smoking it. But
should we stop the engine swap that we're doing right now and talk to you more?
What are you're probably putting a K series in it, right?
No,
which is what most people do.
We were just going to replace it with the one that it had, just one without the drinking straw attached to the front of it.
So yeah, you'd be surprised. We might want to chat about that because
3 podcast episodes.
So I've got some ideas on how we want to go about that. And the cool thing about GLTC is it gives you some leeway to mess around with it. In Club TR, it doesn't. We've been doing a lot of development on my buddy's BRZ and Club TR, just trying to get the car as light as possible, see what works with suspension, what doesn't. We've went about as far as you can with an FA20, but he needs more power. He's down a solid 40 horsepower to everybody, and it shows. We can't make time up anywhere else, and we're seeing it in the data. So we're trying to figure out what direction to go with that. A K series, honestly, has got a lot of advantages, but it's not a Subaru engine, and I can actually make more power within Club TR if you were to put an FA24 in. So we're looking at trying to pick those up, but those engines are like $6,000 right now. So it is a lot to swallow. That's tough. But then again, putting a K24 in your car, you're doing a full swap kit plus the engine, you're going to have 12 or more into it. And I mean, that's a whole lot more than $6,000.
Almost double.
Yeah. But then if you have to do another one, you're out $1,500.
Right.
And that's the problem I'm having selling him is if you do one of these and you're looking at another $6,000 until the prices of these come down. So what we're trying to do over at IEG is make a more cost effective alternative.
That'd be fun.
So we're looking into either a basic built bottom end with some oiling improvements, or maybe a full long block. But there's a lot that goes into that.
So are all of these efforts geared towards time trials and time attack, or are you looking at other series?
We're looking at
this is your focus?
If you're going fast with a Subaru, that's what we're trying to help. And I don't want this to be like a big IAG ad, but that's what we're there for. That's the reason I work for them. Is it literally is the mecca of Subaru, like at least drivetrain performance enhancements on the planet. There's not a better engine builder on the planet. And when I toured the place, it was crazy because you go through and like you see a good engine builder for a particular type of engine, they'll have 7 or 8 of that type of piston, and then like on their wall, and they can kind of pick and choose from there. And when you see how IAG is bringing in pistons, they're coming in flats. Like it's a term that doesn't even make sense, but basically these are like 30 by 30 sheets, and then they're stacked like 20 high, all of the exact same type of piston. And then we go through and we bin those. So we go through and measure those individually because our tolerances are significantly tighter than even the manufacturer of the piston itself. So you're want out of it,
balancing them by sorting.
Yes. Well, that's getting them closer, and then we still balance it.
Right.
Yep. It's crazy. Like it was one of those things when I saw that the first time, I'm like, I don't even know why anybody tried to catch up. So now I work here.
That's how you caught up.
Yep.
Indeed.
But again, just real quick on that, our IAG's background was mostly in drag. When I came on, don't get me wrong, they had helped sponsor some other drivers and stuff like that, but hadn't seen a ton of success with that. When I came on, the whole point was we're winning championships. Like that's what we're here to do. And so a lot of you've seen a lot more recently of a lot more road course oriented stuff. Mostly because I've been pushing the ever living shit out of it. But it's really started to work out, and we're getting a lot of excitement behind it. But anything that has to do with making a Subaru just perform better in any way, even if it's just a street car all the way up to like full blast crazy Looney Tunes time attack cars, that's what we're there for. So
that's awesome.
Pretty symbiotic. The sport fuels your job fuels your sport.
Yep. And it works out really well.
That way when you stay late, it's not so bad.
Yeah. Thankfully I work from home. I've got a pretty sweet situation. I moved down to Tennessee out of Chicago a while ago, 2 years ago. And I work remote doing a lot of their social and sales stuff. And my car is sitting in Maryland right now over at IAG. So
wow.
I can't complain. I live a dream life at this point, but I've been beating my head up against the wall for the past 20 years. So I'm just going to soak it up while I can.
Oh, that's amazing. So for outside of the things that overlap between your goals and your job goals, do you have other car goals that
I do
are outside of this?
Yeah, like I said, I want to do GLTC. That's more of a personal thing. I got to be real. That's not going to sell anything through IAG. That's a personal thing. And really, if I could just break into the top 10 consistently of GLTC, those are all aliens. Those guys who are driving up there are absolute aliens. And if I never win a race, but I just get in the mix to where those guys say I'm legit, I would feel pretty damn accomplished. But again, time attack, not for me personally, because time attack came way before IAG or anything else. I really want to go sub 130 on Gingerman. That would mean the world to me. And I would really, really like to go to World Time Attack and win a class at World Time Attack. I was super stoked to see my buddy Ferris pull it off.
He did okay.
He did okay, and man, those guys have no idea what would have happened if he turned it up. No idea. I love those guys, and I talk to a lot of the Aussies because they are big into Subarus, and they were hitting me up going, "Hey man, do you think this dude's turned up yet?" I'm like, "Not even close, guys. Like, you better pray to God he doesn't learn that track by the end of this weekend."
Yeah.
Wow.
He pushed it a little bit on that last lap, but
He did. But he was pushing it as a driver, not with a car yet.
Oh yeah.
Like he could flip a switch and add 600 horsepower. You know, he can add the amount of horsepower my car makes.
Yeah. I was going to say we'd have to bring more cars just to get 600 horsepower, but that's okay.
Stack them up.
Exactly. I think 2 or 3 cars we probably could get to 600. We're pretty close. So it looks like when you're doing your time attack, is it you by yourself, like, or is there you bring a few people, or is there like areas where you work together? Or?
I've done a lot of this by myself or with very little help. When I first started getting very serious about it, it was pretty much a solo effort, plus maybe my wife, you know, helping me tire pressures and torque and stuff, but that was all on me. When I got back to Six Star Motorsports, which was a company I helped start and then I came back to, when I got back to Six Star Motorsports, it turned into more of a team effort at that point, and that's when the whole Boogeyman project started. I would almost always have at least one person from Six Star with me. There was some inner turmoil and some crap going on with that. Okay.
So when you're there, is there sections that you need more help in? Like, is it like, definitely. Are you a data guy or are you the mechanical guy?
That is what the problem is. I was doing everything. Now, the big change this year was I actually got some help, some like real help. So in the pits with me is my boy Dylan, who is basically the main mechanic on the car. And then who has been coming out just because he enjoys this stuff to no end, is kind of like our main. It's hard to explain what he does, but essentially he's a problem solver within IAG, and he does a lot of the like crazy engine build stuff. So he's one of our main engine guys. He's been coming out, and they've been acting essentially as the pit crew, and it has taken all of that off of me. So for the first time ever, I can look at data. I've never been able to look at data. And like, I've never had time, especially the past couple of years. It's been, I'd come off the track, and if the car wasn't on fire, it was leaking something. And all I would do between the sessions is just scramble to put this thing back together. And I would be diving in the car 2 minutes before the session goes out, you know, and just frazzled. My brain's not in the right place and trying to make something happen. It's been rough. Taking that load off of me has allowed me to be able to focus on driving. I've even started noticing things that I've never noticed before. Like my feet were kind of slipping on the pedals, and like I never had the time to think about that. So we added some grip tape to the pedals, and at Mid-Ohio, that was worth over a second for me.
Wow. It's the simple things when you can think about them, right?
Because you can think about it, you know,
right.
and a lot of this is, you don't need a pit crew if you have a car you're not having to worry about a lot. So like Club TR cars, maybe some street class cars, things like that. But man, when you start doing like high level time attack stuff, especially with big power cars that take a lot of maintenance and break things all the time, you need help. You need help. And there are some, again, there's a couple of aliens out there who've managed to pull it off almost totally solo. Sean Kresbach is a really good example of that, who is, that man is a one-man wrecking crew. But other than that, I mean, the majority of them at least have one guy there to help out in some way or another.
Dewey, I hate to tell you this, we can break stock cars. It's not a problem. It's not that hard.
I do that all the time.
Oh, okay. I just didn't want you to feel like you were on the wrong side of the
No, but I mean, when you're coming off like, let me give you an example. When I come off the track, we've got 2 catch cans we've got to check. Obviously, we got to go through and check all tire pressures and everything else. We need to pull data from the ECU, send it to the tuner so he can look over it. I need to go through data myself personally, and then most of the time the guys go through and do a pretty serious spanner check on everything, just because of the Looney Tunes speed the thing goes, and that's we do a ton of tire rotations, and just that stuff alone though is huge. Fueling happens almost every single time, even though we only do maybe 3 hot laps.
Right. Well, you're the downside of not doing that at the speed you guys go is bad.
Yep. It's really bad, and that's one of the reasons I moved into this class, is because I found a chassis with a cage, and it just made sense. With age comes a cage.
For sure.
With age comes a cage. Yeah.
Yep. That was I had a really close call at Road Atlanta, and that was enough to scare me into, we've got to do something. Like, I want a cage, I want a Hans, I want all of it. Then you get a kid and everything else, and it just makes you like rethink stuff.
Road Atlanta's no joke.
No, turn 12 Road Atlanta is terrifying. That is the scariest, absolute scariest corner anywhere. I just hate it. I'd take the kink at Road America every single time over that.
I remember thinking, I knew what I was getting into, and then I'm pulling in with the trailer the first time we went there, and I'm just pulling in, and it's the entrance, and it's turn 12 backwards, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
What am I climbing?
I gotta race this tomorrow?
Yeah. No, it's nuts. And when you add speed to the top of it, I never got to go through there. No, I guess I did go there once with Boogie, and it wasn't anywhere near as bad with Boogie because I had a little bit of aero. But man, in my street class car, because we weren't allowed aero, it was terrifying through 12.
Wow.
Yep, the car would step out really bad, and you have to trust the diffs. Like, you're basically in a controlled drift going through 12. It was horrific.
Yeah, we went there. It was 33 degrees and raining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what do you tell yourself to amp yourself up when you're on track?
Well,
do you have
a lot
do you have
of it
a
is,
motto?
He might need to go the other way. I've seen this guy in action, and it might need to slow him down.
That's actually really what it is. I've got a video of me sitting in my car somewhere, and my hands are over my face, and I'm going, just do time attack, just do time attack. Because the problem I was having is I wasn't thinking about the time. I was thinking about the person ahead of me, or I'm thinking about trying to make up space or whatever. I'm not distancing myself out in the opening lap the way I should. I was just making a lot of stupid decisions, and it was killing me at that event. And, sometimes a lot of it is, I'm a ball of nerves. Before sessions that really mean a lot, it's pretty common for me to go vomit. It's very, very common for that. I can't eat breakfast because it'll just come right back up. It's just how I am, and I am just a ball of nerves. So anything I can do to calm myself down is usually what I'm trying to do. I don't need to get amped up. Me getting amped up probably isn't a good thing. You can't be amped up in this car because you'll overdrive it and you'll lose time.
Well, you know where the Freezy Pops are at, so just come on by.
Yep, sliding by. I'm taking you up on that.
So far, you've mentioned having help, that having a team to help you, having a car that's caged is incredibly helpful. Being able to focus on data and actually focusing on your driving and what you're doing, and not what's around you necessarily, are the things that you've learned. Any other lessons that you've learned in the races that you've done? Maybe give us the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Ugly is story time, by the way. So feel free.
I came up through sim racing. Whether it was Forza, I got into iRacing pretty hardcore. But one of the problems I had, especially doing time attack, is I don't have enough seat time and the short amount of seat time I have is usually pretty hectic, and you pick up a lot of bad habits. And one of my really, really bad habits was I was so focused on hitting certain points on the track that I wasn't looking far enough ahead. I cannot stress how important and how much faster you will be by just looking ahead, because the car will go where you are looking. You will naturally put it there. And you will make the correct corrections to put it there, but you have to trust yourself to do it. And that was, I guess, one of the big things, if you want to do high-end time attack, one of the things you can really do to help yourself is pick up a car that you can put seat time in, which is why I have my BRZ. And I try to hit as many events as I can with that to get good seat time versus just going fast. I'm not so much worried about lap time as I am just going out, having a good time, working on the basics and getting everything correct. That's that. Honestly, it's having help is so huge. I didn't realize it was going to make this big of a difference. So
I think you hit on one of the universals, like seat time, seat time, seat time.
Seat time.
Always focusing on the basics and having those done well.
Yep.
Right.
It kind of reminds me when I was in the Marine Corps. I
you were a Marine?
I was. Yep. 2000 to 2004.
I'm not saying you're not a Marine, but hello, phone. But personality-wise, you're not the typical person I would think of as a Marine.
I agree. I don't drink either. Imagine that.
I knew that part. That's why I'm like, huh?
Yeah. Yep. 4 years in the Corps. I spent most of it in Camp Lejeune. But I taught marksmanship, and one of the things you teach with marksmanship is the basic fundamentals will teach you everything you need to know about marksmanship. You can pick up any weapon system and fire it accurately if you understand the fundamentals of marksmanship. And that goes back into driving too. The basic fundamentals of driving, it's the same concept. And one of the things you know, just like in marksmanship where you just preach focusing on the front sight tip, when you're aiming, not focusing on the target, but focusing on the front sight tip. When you're driving, you know, looking forward or focusing further ahead, is that same concept. And having, you know, I didn't realize I wasn't beating that into my head until, you know, I started playing around with stuff in my seat time car.
Yeah, I had a student 2 weeks ago, I think, and I had to explain to him that, you know, looking ahead does not always mean out the front window.
Yes.
Sometimes the side window is a very good place to look.
Have you ever seen, they stuck a Formula One driver in a sim, and they used one of those eye trackers to see where he was looking versus where most people were looking. Yeah. And it wasn't even in the same world. Where like, he's looking at the very edge of the screen, like off into space.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If you watch that, it's really wild because you realize what you think is looking ahead is not looking ahead. You weren't even kind of looking ahead.
And what you think is scanning is not fast scanning.
When I was, I got really, really lucky to follow Tom O'Gorman around. He was kind of giving a session, like a lesson to some guys doing a track walk, and I followed behind him around Lime Rock, and I was just listening to some of the stuff he was saying, and where he's talking about where he's looking on the track. And he's like, yeah, I looked through these two trees over at the bridge, and I'm like, what? Like, you can't even see. That's where you're looking? Like, what are you? That's insanity. And like, it's crazy when you get a perspective from somebody like who is a proper pro.
Yep.
You know, and you listen to the way they approach stuff, how much you can learn in a very short period of time.
Yeah, we had our first experience with coaching, and it's amazing the little things that they can poke, and you're like, oh, there's 2 seconds. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's all in just finding what's going to stick and what isn't, where to poke. I've done a little bit of instructing. It's been a good time. Some of it is terrifying.
Yeah, the big joke we have is the one thing you don't want to hear a student try to do is impress their instructor. Just don't do that, please.
Yeah. No, that's the first thing you try to tell everybody.
Yep.
And it's hard when we're doing Subaru only events, and I'm fairly known within the Subaru community as like a track guy. So they're all like, "Oh,
you should see what I can do."
Yeah. What kind of times am I running? I'm like, we ain't looking at times. You stop. Like, we're doing lead follow, man. Chill.
Yeah. Stay on the gray stuff. Don't stay on the green stuff. Yeah.
That's what we're doing right now.
Exactly. So, Dewey, we've talked a little bit about time attack, but I just realized as a good podcast host and, all right, let me rephrase that. As a wannabe good podcast host, we never actually said what time attack is. So people may be sitting there going, saying, why are you attacking a clock? So what is time attack?
Well, so a clock talks shit and you have to fight with it.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
true.
a physical altercation with a clock.
No.
So time attack is kind of like a weekend full of qualifying. If you're talking about time attack in its purest form, your whole concept is you want to run the fastest possible time you can over a weekend. It's a lot like autocross on a track. There's no cones or anything like that. But that's essentially the concept. You usually go out there in 15-minute sessions, but you're only going to use 2 or 3 laps, depending on the car you're running, to try to get that time. Most time attack events run over a couple of days. And the fastest time from the weekend that you have ran is what's going to count. Now, Grid Life has changed some stuff recently. Their current format for their festival events has been really interesting. So you've got any time you're on the track, it'll count for the record. Okay, but for the actual win of the event, you have a couple of practice sessions, then you have 3 qualifying sessions, and that's what actually they take the top 5 qualifiers and they put them in what they call the podium sprint, which is you get 2 laps all to yourself on the track to try to set your fastest time, and whatever you run within podium sprint is what counts for the podium itself. So even if you ran, the overall record, in practice or in qualifying, it doesn't matter. It's what you put down in podium sprint, which has made this season really interesting.
Are you in favor of that change?
I wasn't until I saw how it was presented. It has brought a lot of eyes to time attack. And what I'm happy to see, and something I was kind of worried about, was the record. The emphasis on the record would get lost, and it hasn't been. They've done a very good job of still emphasizing the record, and the record is also worth an extra point for the championship points race, but they're still really big on, if somebody sets a record in qualifying, making sure that it's, they talk on it. It's a big deal. And that's really cool. I was really worried that was going to get lost in the conversation, because in pure time attack, the only thing that really matters is the record. There isn't second or third place. It's just the record.
Yeah. So
and,
the toughest question of the podcast is Sunday Cup time attack.
Yes. And if anybody wants to fight me on that, time attack news, I don't, man, I cannot believe that many people of a particular organization that we will not mention are on that, how wrong they are on that side of that. And it just astounds me that took the direction it did with that whole argument last year, because there isn't a better entry level class into time attack, or honestly, like time-based competition, than Sunday Cup. You can build a car for next to nothing and get right into the mix. And the only thing stopping you from winning is your driving ability. And you can put that car together for nothing.
Yep. And it's still, it's entry level to time attack, but it's not, like going and renting a go-kart at a mall.
No, you're up against very serious competition. There are some guys who take Sunday Cup extremely seriously.
Yep. They smashed me pretty good, and I don't mind. It was fine. You guys,
yep,
it's good. I had a good time.
It's a good time. You were out there against Jake Abbott and the boys, so they ain't playing around.
No. I'm like sitting there going, well, I'm not close.
I love driving the Sunday Cup cars because it makes you realize how many bad habits you've picked up driving really fast cars that could save you with horsepower.
You can realize it as you're going down the straightaway for 45 seconds. After
you realize it the entire time down the straightaway that you have absolutely no nuts.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Lime Rock is a perfect example of that. When you come off the last corner, if you weren't flat basically from the jump all the way to the start finish line, you're losing time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
And, I can just imagine, doing time attack at pit race and trying to get out of that pit and blowing it. That would be bad.
Oh, yeah. You'd be down there for an hour.
Yeah.
You might not make it up the hill.
You might not make turn 7.
They might have to tow you. You there's absolutely no reliance on power within that class. And I don't know how else they could have done it to make it any different. And I think it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. It's made a lot of people rethink the way they try to approach building a car. But it's one of those classes that somebody could just throw a car together in their garage, show up and win. And if you can drive it to the correct level, you could do that. Other time attack classes are kind of insulated from that. Honestly, I think Street Modified is the most insulated from that. Mm-hmm. That you can't just show up because the car has to be pretty much specifically built for Street Modified in grid life. Even the street class cars that come from Global Time Attack, the rules are just slightly different to the point where we have a hard time competing in each other's classes. Like, you aren't just going to show up and mop the floor with everybody. And within other classes, maybe Club TR being another one, it's really, really hard for you to do that. In other classes, it's easier to do that than Street Modified. Unlimited, you could show up with just an absurd amount of money and some Hoosier slicks and get it done. You could go buy a hypercar and just get it done. Or like Street GT, if you have a nearly stock C6 Z06 and you were just a hell of a driver, shout out to Ito Waxman, you can set records in Street GT and win a championship with almost no prep. But you can't do that in Street Modified. It's the car and the driver, and it's almost equal parts both.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yep. Another thing I really like about that class.
So, in your car, what have you done? What have you done with your car?
So, what
is there anything left?
Yeah.
Is there anything left done for your car?
So it's a 95. I'll try to make the shortest mod list I possibly can. Okay. It's a 95 Impreza L, basically. It's got a what would be considered like a 22B style body kit, and since the rules state that you can use alternative materials for fenders, they're fiberglass fenders. For wheel clearance. So I have fiberglass fenders all the way around to give me a pile of clearance. It's basically an 07 STI drivetrain that's been put under it. The engine is highly modified. It's a 2.5 liter with a 2 liter crank running a longer rod, making it a 2.3D stroker. We've got a daily dry sump system attached to it, so we've got enough oiling to rev the nuts off of it. We shift at about 9,300. I have a very large Garrett turbo now. We just switched over to that recently. So we've got a very large Garrett G35 1050 attached to that on an ETS kit, all wired up with a Haltech, a OEM STI 6-speed behind that, a Cusco rear diff, Fortune Auto 2-way coilovers, a really big cage, an aim dash, and a bunch of really small modifications. I'm running tubular subframes, wide fab knuckles, AP racing brakes. All of that is tied together on a set of 255, 200 treadwear tires, because I'm not allowed anything else outside of the class. I have a a plywood front splitter with some professional awesome goodies on it, and a AJ Hartman rear wing. It's pretty rudimentary aero, but it does the job. And anywhere I could shave weight, I did, but I still have to have carpeting. I still have to have my dashboard. I still have to have a lot of the switches and stuff in there. I still have to have a passenger seat. But past that, the car makes anywhere between high 500s and upwards of 700 if I need to.
Oh, that's terrible, really.
Yes, it's just so it's essentially what it is a mid-90s car designed to take grandma to the grocery store in the snow, and we strapped a JATO rocket to it, and we try to control it on street tires.
Amazing. So can we go back to, you're talking about unlimited and, you know, modified, and
sure.
So what are the different levels of time attack within grid life? Like how do they rank in different
so we can actually kind of bounce right through it. Sunday Cup is simple. I want to say basically the cars are like 100 horsepower to the wheels or less.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost no prep involved with that at all. They tend to be small 4-cylinder vehicles. It originally was considered spec fit, and then they changed the name to open up some more cars within the class. But that's essentially what it is a Honda Fit with some minor suspension mods.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Club TR, which is also a newer entry. That's Club Track Rat. And that was designed for like hatchback Civics and S2000s and things like that. Stuff that guys were taking to the track. They pull the interior out, so they put a minimum weight on it and really kept the swaps and the horsepower to a minimum. So it's not exactly horsepower limited, but the amount of modifications you're allowed to do is fairly limited as far as horsepower. So you get guys getting right to the minimum weight on that. They're required to be on a 200 treadwear street tire also. I think they're actually required to be on Falcon RT 660s. So one thing you're going to notice when we're talking about time attack is I like to refer to it as sandboxes. And Sunday Cup has a very small sandbox you can play in. Club TR has a little bit larger sandbox. Street class is essentially you're not allowed any aftermarket aero, and you're still on a 255 street tire. You're limited on the size of the turbo. You're allowed to change out naturally aspirated 6 cylinders, turbo 4 cylinders, mostly dominated by the turbo 4 cylinders these days. So you see a lot of STIs and Evos in that class. Then you have Street GT, which kind of was an offshoot of Street, which gave the place for muscle cars, like modern muscle cars and things like that with big tires. So it's basically big tire street. They're not allowed to do a lot of modifications to the engine, but they're allowed to do a decent amount of the suspension. And they have to keep most of their interior and aftermarket aeros really limited. Street mods where stuff starts to get pretty wacky. That's where the engine swaps start to open up quite a bit. You're allowed to basically do whatever you want under the hood. You're not allowed a sequential transmission
because Adam can't afford one.
Factory equipped. Well, this is where the sandbox opened up enough to where there starts to become some interesting gray areas. And this is why I like Street Mod, because the cars still look like the cars are supposed to be, but there's enough gray area to where you can pull some stuff off. A perfect example was Alex Moss and his crew managed to argue that a DCT from a BMW, so a dual clutch transmission from a BMW, is not a sequential because of the way the glossary explains what a sequential is. And he was right. I'm still mad about this, but he was right. So that what they did is shoved a BMW DCT in this S2000, and this class I always thought kind of balanced itself because the newer cars with some of the more modern transmissions and stuff tended to be heavier, and the older cars that you had to row your own gears and they were a little more basic, they tended to be lighter, so it balanced stuff out. He managed to merge the two of them and made this Heretic mobile, and he almost honestly he became the real boogeyman of Street Modified. Unfortunately, he bumped that car into a wall out in Colorado, and I don't know if we're going to see him next year or what the situation's going to be, but he's coming back with that thing. I guarantee it. But this is where you start running into gray area, and people start, if it's one of the things about time attack that a lot of people don't, that it kind of jars them when they come from like SCCA or a NASA or something like that. When they come into like a grid life time attack event or just any time attack in general, if it's not in the rule book, it's legal. When you're looking at an SCCA rule book, it's the other way around. If it's not in the rule book, it's illegal. So what you do, just like they would in Formula One or anything else, is you read the rule book 3 or 4 times to see what it says. Then you read it 300 or 400 more times to see what it doesn't say. And you do all of that. And it really leaves a lot of interpretation open. And this is where you start seeing some really crazy modifications to vehicles. So this is why, again, I'm a really big fan of Street Modified, because it's the first, the sandbox opens up enough to where almost any vehicle can compete in it. I mean, at Lime Rock, I had a hatchback Civic 1/10 of a second off of me, but I also was competing against an AMG GT. We've had McLarens in the class. If you can put a 285 tire on it and not kill yourself with it, if it's rear wheel drive, or a 255, if it's all wheel drive, you can get that thing legally in that class. One class above that is when stuff really starts to get nutty. Track mod is where you're allowed to put sequentials in it. You're allowed to gut the interior. The aero opens up quite a bit, but you're still, you still have to keep it 100 tread wear tire or higher, but you're allowed any width of tire you want. You can go nuts. That class is unfortunately kind of turned into a catch-all for everybody who doesn't read the rules. And it's unfortunately, it sucks that it's turned into that, because that class could be amazing. But that's in kind of a limbo right now. And then you run into Unlimited, where the rules are mostly thrown out. This is where you start seeing absolutely crazy stuff. The cars look like spaceships. Almost everything's got a sequential. Everybody's running Hoosiers. They're nuts. And one of the problems we have with Unlimited is the cars, they tend to not be as relatable as, say, like a street modified car, where you can look at a street modified car and go, I can see that that's a 95 Impreza. It's a highly modified one, but I can see the 95 Impreza in there. If you look at some of these Unlimited cars, you can't even tell what the hell it is. They're crazy looking. And it's hard for an outside viewer or somebody just trying to get into time attack. They see that and they're just like, holy cow. And then you look at World Time Attack, where like Ferris Cartoony is a good example of what the US Unlimited Time Attack looks like. And he went, I think a 27 was his fastest time around that track, a 127. Mm-hmm. Then you have the RP 968 went 10 seconds faster than Ferris. But they have every piece of that car has been touched. It's all carbon. They come there with multiple billet engines. Like the problem with Unlimited, and even to a point track mod, is cubic dollars will definitely win. Now, I'm not saying cubic dollars wouldn't win in street modified, but it'd be a lot harder. You'd have to know where to spend it. You could just throw money at Unlimited and get it done.
Well, luckily, racers will never do that, right?
Oh, no. Yeah, give me unlimited money. See what I do. I already know where I'd spend it all.
So are you shooting to be in street mod, or?
So this is a good this is one of those things that, like, I get asked, so when are you going to move up in class? Well, I don't like calling it up or down. They're just different size sandboxes. I have absolutely no need to move anywhere. I love where I'm at. I love this class. I think it's balanced well. And I think it's insulated from BS happening. So I'm not moving on of street mod. If they changed the rules for street mod for some reason, there was talks of them modifying some rules and trying to like force a bunch of us into track mod. I mean, I'd either stop doing time attack at that point or modify my car and whatever it needs to be still in street modified, or just build another chassis. Like I won't leave street mod. I think it's the best class in time attack and discussion.
So it was by design, not by default.
Yeah, 100% by design. And most of the guys who run Street Modified are a lot like me. We like this class for what it is, and we don't want it to change. And you can't deny how drastically different a lot of these cars are. The determining factor tends to come down to tire, and that's what's keeping us all so close in time. James Houghton was 1/10 of a second behind me at Lime Rock. And then we've had other events where the top 5, all drastically different cars. AMG GT, my crazy thing, the DCT, S2000, we're all separated by a half second. Like, you can't ask for parity like that. Like, you can't design better parity. So why would you split the class up? So that's why a lot of us stay there, because honestly, we've all become like best frenemies. And it's an arms race, but it's great.
Do you guys have a tendency to be highly competitive and argumentative against each other, or is it just like the boys club?
Oh, all the time. The arguments that happened over that DCT were unreal.
Really?
But we, in the end of the day, we all respect each other as competitors.
Okay.
And I mean, let me put it this way. I had one of the things that kicked my ass into starting to finish Boogie quickly, and I'm still paying for some of those sins because we did put it together very fast, was I got a tumor in my head, okay? And it's called an acoustic neuroma. It basically grows off my balance nerve towards my brain. So I had to pull that out of my head. And I was laid up in the hospital for a long period of time, and this was just before I put Boogie together. I missed a couple of events, but the people who called me and tried to get in contact and see how I was doing, these were my direct competitors or grid life people, not even some of my family. Like, I don't think some of my family even realizes I had a tumor. And that was one of the things that like really changed my perspective on how I wanted to approach life and who I want to spend time with. And yeah, these people might be trying to make me waste tens of thousands of dollars by trying to beat me. But in the end, these people would pull parts off their car to help me if I asked them. Like it's really competitive. But on the flip side of it, these guys are family.
I think that's one of the universals, no matter who you talk to, what particular motorsport they're focusing on, is the people is really the thing, right? And that you form, real families within this.
I've seen it both ways. Let me put it that way. I'm not trying to, and I'm sure there's areas of the drag community that are really close. And I was in some dark, seedy, crummy areas of the drag community. But believe me,
in Mexico,
they were, it was different. They'd be very happy to see you break. Okay. One thing I can say about grid life is, even if our competition is crazy tight, nobody wants to beat you with a broken car. Nobody wants to beat you because you're, they want to beat you heads up. And it is disappointing if somebody does break. And everybody will go all in to try to get the car up, because you didn't win anything if you didn't beat them, with them actually functioning. In the drag community, if you broke, well, that's your problem. At least the drag community I was a part of, that is not all drag community. I'm sure it's a completely different story depending on who you're talking to. But man, it was ugly.
So if we can veer off a little bit into just a slightly different topic.
Sure.
I am wondering, like, the differences driving between sprint versus time attack.
Well, time attack is you got to get it done right away. There is no warming up. Okay, the problem you're going to run into with time attack is your tires are going to be in your tires, or your car are going to be in the zone for 1, maybe 2 laps, especially in street modified or the higher power classes. You get into like Club TR or Sunday Cup, they might run their best time their 5th, 6th, 7th lap. That ain't going to happen with us. So you have to go out there and perform right now. and you are not going to get a ton of shots at it. The difference with like that or a sprint race, in a sprint race, you might be able to be a little off your game for a lap or two, but you still got, 6-7 laps to get back in it. Or you're dealing with position. So even if you're maybe a little off your game, you might be able to hold your competitor behind you. The clock is going to pass you no matter what. You can't get in the way of the clock. You're either going to run the time or you're not. And that's where having to do it right then, and now with this new format, having to not only do it right then to get into the show, but then do it in the show itself, it's nerve-wracking. It is absolutely nerve-wracking. And it's a lot on the driver to put something together. And it's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying, but it's great. Especially if you win. If you lose, it's awful.
Captain's log supplemental.
So, Bill, guess what?
What?
We did the Sentinel. We did the Sentinel.
We did.
How
did you like it?
You know what? We were talking about the Sentinel.
We have.
It was great. We understood watching how the Sentinel works, but we finally got it into our car, and I got to tell you, that was really awesome. I was able to see every one of my mistakes.
We have hours of them.
We have hours of my mistakes,
right.
But we have hours of good stuff too, which is awesome. It actually showed us the speed. Did it show us where we were on track?
We were streaming it.
We were streaming it live.
Boring billions of people across the world.
But it was pretty incredible. Plus, on it, you're able to put your insignia, your logos on your app also, and the clarity was amazing. It was really easy to put in, easier than I thought it was.
I know you kept making a big deal out of it. I'm like, it's really not that hard. Until we focused on it, it wasn't too bad. And then we got some help. It was pretty easy.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty good.
You know what? I like the stream because some of the tracks we go to don't have great cell phone coverage, but it's got a USB stick backup. So I just uploaded the high quality video without the cellular interruption. So if you watched us earlier and said, wow, they got from there to there really quickly, you can watch the real video and see that no, we didn't. It's just a cell phone went out. But
yeah. So the learning curve for me, obviously, I'm slightly techno-Amish.
Slightly.
When it comes to the wiring and stuff like that, but we get it in and I love it. We were able to sit there right at the track and watch what we were doing in the car. And that was amazing. Which
was good because if you have a problem with your radio, you can tell, if something is going on that you need to know about. Like a couple times we've had cars come in and we didn't know they were broken. And I know it's hard to imagine one of our cars being broken, but whatever. But you can watch the video, and even with the cell phone coverage we had at that particular event, it was like a 30-second delay. So it wasn't bad. And you can compare multiple drivers because you have each of the stints are broken up. So we got to work on not only our driving, but if we wanted to, we could work on our pit stops and see exactly what we do. And there's some things that we need to talk about as a team. And it was pretty good. Like I said, it takes me, once we got the wiring hooked up for the power, I probably could go from an empty shell to a full up setup running Sentinel. I could probably do that in like 20 minutes. So you could literally install it in a car before a race. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And we got to see the driver and the front windshield. And if we want to, we can have three. We can see backwards. Or one of the guys we were going to work with at the upcoming event, he said, could you put a camera on the driver's eyes so we could see what they're looking at? I said, why, yes, I can. Haven't done it yet, but I'll figure it out. We've got time.
Well, I love it.
All right. Very well. That sounds like I can buy another one then. Woo! So apparently we need to have a separate Subaru. I had a segment for the Subaru suggestions, but it sounds like we're going to have a separate episode. So we're going to do a subset of some of our Fast and Furious Story Time questions so we can honor your time and you can feed everyone at home and all that fun stuff. So we're just going to do a few of them. We have So many of these dumb
I
questions.
could talk about Fast and Furious all day. Let's go.
Well,
No.
this has no capital letters. There is no IP infringement. It's just Fast and Furious storytime questions.
Okay, let's go.
It's not about Fast and Furious, the movie.
Nope.
I'm just
Nope.
telling you.
Bummer.
No.
Okay. Well, it might be some of the answers, but we'll see.
No,
All right.
no. Okay, so what was your first car and what was the worst car you ever had?
Oh man, they might be the same thing. No,
They
that's
tend
not
to
true.
be. They tend
That's
to
not
be.
true. It's gonna be real close though. Okay, so my first car was an '86 Mercury Topaz, and we called it Blue Thunder because it had no exhaust. It sounded awful, and I had no money because I was in high school, and the brake lines all rusted out, and we pinched all but one of them off using vice grips. So I had one brake. It was bad. That car was pretty awful, but the worst car I've ever owned was, I think it was a '98 Chevy Lumina that was given to me, and it had I think it was a 32 or a 3400 V6. Either way, the head gasket didn't make it till we got home. So you want to talk about head gasket problems? Those things, holy crap! And I owned that car for about 12 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Spectacular.
What's the car that got away? Do you have one?
Ooh, yeah. I'm a closet Volkswagen Corrado fan. I've owned 3 of them, but the last one I sold was a absolutely mint '93 Corrado VR6 or SLC here in the States. And I still want to get another one of those, but man, the prices have went right through the roof.
Mhm.
I sold it to a guy for an absolutely stupid amount of money. It was so cheap. It was like $1,500 because it crapped the trans, which I could have got another trans for like $500. That car right now would sell for 20. So dumb. That or maybe my 94 Honda Del Sol VTEC. I let that go for. We had a minor front end collision with that one, and I didn't have the time nor the money to fix it. I put it up for something cheap. It was like $1,000. Guy came from the other side of the state, dropped a radiator in it, sealed it up, burped the coolant, and drove it home. I was so mad.
Oh,
You'll learn
no.
a lot when you're young and stupid.
Oh no.
Yep.
We make up for it being old and stupid. That's fine. So I think we're going to get something out of this. What is your race car number and why? And do your cars have names?
Well, my cars have names. Pretty much all my
Do
cars
they?
have names. Yeah, all my cars have names. But the thing about a name is you can't just name it. Okay, it has to earn it.
100%.
Right? And like I didn't name Boogeyman, so but it sticks. My BRZ really doesn't have a name yet because it just hasn't earned anything. It'll come up with something. But like the STI, my wife likes to call it the Dove, but it is not the Dove, it's the Possum, because every time it tries to die, it just comes back. So, and then I had my old O2 WRX we called the Rooster because it wouldn't die. It was based on that Alice in Chains song. I had another car we called the Warthog because it drove around on 3 cylinders for just about ever and then still kept going. And it just sounded awful. And I think it sounded like a Warthog oinking. I think that was the plan. So, so I name them all.
There you go.
Yeah. What is the car from your family and your history that sticks out in your mind the most?
So I didn't come from a car family at all.
No.
So yeah, I'm actually the oddball. And I made it my career and everything. Cars all came from really started when I went into the Marine Corps. But probably our 95, no, sorry, it was a 91 Chevy Lumina minivan, like the Dustbuster van.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that ended up, I bought it off the family. I love that thing. And I was running cross country at the time, cross country and track. And I was one of the distance runners. And we used to go all over the place in that thing. And I'd take the team way out to the middle of nowhere and we just park the van and run back to the school and somebody'd run me out to get the car. But yeah, I had some really good memories in that van. It's a stupid minivan.
Awesome.
So aside from throwing up, do you have any other pre-race details?
Throwing up's a big one. Trying not to throw up is honestly, I like to sit in the car and I like to go through. I've been trying to get to the pit or the staging lanes a little early. Staging lane, the whatever. I try to get out into position a lot earlier than I used to because I was getting out there just frazzled and all messed up. So this year I've really started trying to like visually go through the track in my head and try to nail the points that I knew I needed to work on, especially since I got to look at data and figure out where I could actually go faster. Just kind of imagine what that would look like in my head. And then in the outlap, I like to take a fairly fast outlap to get some heat in the tires. And so I really try to emphasize hitting those points, even to an exaggerated amount. But past that, not really. Try to drink a lot of water and try to mellow out as much as I can because I'm usually running around like a total nervous wreck.
Throwing up.
Yep.
Trying not to.
Trying not to throw up.
All right. Well, one of the things that anybody who sees this podcast on video will see is my beautiful bride's eyes roll. So we're going to win the lottery, and we're going to buy a desert island and build a track. It's going to have a paved track and then a dirt track. And as a thank you to all our guests, we're going to invite you guys down, but we want to make sure that you get the full benefit of this. So we want to know what 5 cars we need to have for you.
Oh, so you've won the serious lottery.
Yeah, big boy lottery.
Okay. I would like a Ford RS 200 personally.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So if I'm going to be driving sideways, I want to do it
properly.
I want to do it absolutely properly. So are you putting a track on this island?
Yes, the track. It has a road track and a dirt track.
I want a absolute perfect replica of Turn 9 at Mid-Ohio on there.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. So we need a Carrera GT on there.
Okay.
Maybe whatever that Porsche was that they just had that was doing 11,000 RPM. That was fantastic. And then a bone stock 2023 BRZ. Don't touch it. Stock tires and everything. They're great. Past that, I don't know. You're probably going to surprise me with something. Maybe a Corrado.
Okay. That'll be fine.
I'm one of those guys. If I won the lottery, I'd have like Corrados, like 15 clean Impreza chassis with nothing in them, like an old MR2. Like
a first gen or a second gen?
I want to get a first gen. I just think it'd be. I've only driven one like in a city around, and it was playful and fun to drive. It wasn't fast.
No, it's not fast. No. It feels. I know I had a second gen, and it needs one more gear. It just does.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not driving on the highway, so I don't care.
True. All right, Miss Vicki, your last one of the day.
Yeah. What is your favorite track to race at and why?
Mid-Ohio.
That is a good one.
It's Mid-Ohio for sure, and it's really closely followed by Gingerman.
Really, and why?
Mid-Ohio has everything. It's got a crazy long straight. It's got cool elevation. It's got my favorite corner in all of Time Attack, which is Turn 9. And I just love that corner. It's just a riot because the fast way through it is, basically counter steering sideways, floating through the air. It's lovely. So Mid-Ohio, I just love Mid-Ohio. But Gingerman is kind of like my spiritual home track. And in my opinion, is the most balanced Time Attack track in existence. It's got just a long enough straight to where you can make up some time with power. You need a well-balanced car through the back section. No matter how many times you drive it and how well the car is set up, you as a driver can learn something from Gingerman. And it's really low risk. So you're not scared of trying stuff.
There's one wall.
And if you hit it, you screwed up so bad.
Yep.
You deserved it.
Yeah. If you hit that wall, I'm sorry, you deserve it.
Gingerman's
Great. if, in my opinion, Gingerman should be the premier time attack track in this country because it's just perfectly balanced.
Wow.
Have you ever run it backwards?
No.
It's fun.
Oh, I've been told that. I want to so bad. It looks completely broken backwards, and I so want to run it.
It's not what you think it would be. Like you think you know what it would be backwards. It's not that. It's great, but
I bet you I've been told it's fantastic.
It is.
What I'm told is like, don't go into it thinking it's Gingerman backwards. It's a totally different track.
It 100%. It's not. It's nothing like it's. It's
what's
different.
crazy is I grew up in Western Michigan, and I've never been to Grattan. I want to go there too. It looks like a ton of fun. Looks like there's like a cool jump and a lot of like really crazy weird elevation and swoopy corners and a really long straight. It looks like I'd have almost the same amount of fun I would as Mid Ohio.
Could be. You got to try them all, sir.
I got to, but I need to bring the BRZ there, not Boogie.
Yeah,
everybody keeps trying to get me to take Boogie out to Ozark, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna kill my car at Ozark. That new track coming out in it's over by Knoxville, Tennessee. That looks really good. Yeah, that looks like it's gonna be really rowdy.
Ozark looked like it's fun, but I'm not sure your car is particularly suited to it.
No, I'll take the BRZ out there and try not to die.
That's probably a good plan.
That's why we got the BRZ.
So, what car, if any, would you want to wipe away from history?
The 08 WRX.
And why? Wow.
It is.
That surprised me.
That was not the one I was thinking.
It's bad. Like that was Subaru's cash grab. It was that car. It was so bad that Subaru almost released an apology the next year by giving it a different turbo, revising the suspension, like everything. The 08 WRX is awful. So yeah, that's probably right up there at the top. We were all lied to about that car.
All right. Well, I'm going to break the rule because I think I know the answer to Jennifer's favorite question. So we're going to go with, what is the coolest car ever? Not the best. Coolest.
The coolest car ever is the Ford RS 200.
You like going sideways?
Not only that, like that car is just it's death in a car. It's what happens when like a manufacturer goes, I want to win. I want to win this, and I don't care. It's everything I love, like the style of vehicle that I like, because I'm really attracted to these like rally homologation style vehicles. But mid-engine, all-wheel drive, 2 seats, basically tube frame, massive long suspension, completely overpowered, overbuilt 4-cylinder with a giant turbo that lags like crazy. It's so cool. It looks cool. It sounds cool. It just is cool.
All right. The coolest car ever. Per Dewey. You've heard it.
Fight me, he says. Fight me.
Well, Mr. DeWitt, you are currently on the leaderboard for Street Mod with a almost insurmountable lead of 9 points. Although it's not all the way done. But we do wish you well. If people want to catch up and see what you're doing and maybe look at some of what you've done in the past, where would they go?
The easiest place to get a hold of me is Instagram. Just my thing is Dewey WRX, so DEWEYWRX. And then I'm easy to find on Facebook. I'm Eric Dewey DeWitt. I've actually just paid Zuck his money today to become verified, so we'll see how that works out.
You're verified, Dewey. There you go.
We also, the IG Performance YouTube has really been taking off lately, and we've got some really, really good content over there. And if you want to look at a bunch of my old content, I have a YouTube channel that I have not updated in a very long time called Go Fast or Suck. And I still have some great content over there. We've got it was me vlogging a lot of my early time attack exploits, and it was a lot of fun. Me back in the silver card, some of the early Boogeyman stuff. It's really good.
I think I might have to go find some new.
It's good stuff. You'll have a good time.
it'll be good. It'll be fun. Well, apparently we've got 2 or 3 more podcasts coming with you. So until we see you again, sir.
I'm easy to find. You guys want me back on, or we need to argue about Subaru stuff? You know where I'm at.
We can do that.
If we took anything away from this today, though, it's head gaskets are not. It was one effing motor, and yes, they were awful, but just don't buy an NA 2.5 liter, and you're fine.
I think them's fighting words on the paddocks that we purvey. So we'll have to come over and see what's going on here. And,
I'm easy to find.
and we have right now a snorkel filled engine of a original 86. Well, not the original 86, but the most recent original 86 that needs some love. So we may need to talk a little more.
We'll get you taken care of.
There we go. Thank you, sir. You have a great night.
Thank you.
Do you want to do an intro? This will be your first one. You could. It's up to you.
Wow, that's quite the honor.
No, that's because nobody else will do it. I just get stuck doing it. So it's your call.
Oh, well, I don't know if I was quite prepared for that.
All right. Well, you can work up to it.
Wing it. If it's terrible, you can just cut it and do your
You can work up to it next time. You can. It's not too bad. It's up to you. Your call.
All right, I'll do it. Ready?
All right. Yes.